today's show, I'll be interviewing two very special guests from in and around Brighton, where shortly after I'll be heading to Brighton town to go to a gig. There are a number of record labels in and around Brighton that tie in well with the infamous music scene.
My name's Rich. I've been a drummer in a local Brighton band for about 4 years now, playing hip hop, and we got approached by a label a few years ago. It was 2 or 3 actually at the same time. One of them we had particular interest in. The manager was quite supportive of our style, so we decided to go with them. We found after about 6 months that the label actually lost a lot of its bands that were bought out by bigger labels, and they eventually did fall through, which was quite a shame for us. We were told that recording costs, all these things could be covered, so we put a lot of time into booking good studio time with some really good producers, got some great tracks done, spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds, hundreds upon thousands of pounds just getting the track sorted out, and we would be assured that the revenue would be given straight back to us afterwards, which obviously didn't happen. All this time we could have spent doing the promotions ourselves, putting on our own gigs, getting our own tracks sorted, but obviously following this label we've been slightly undermined by a bigger conglomerate, which is a bit of a shame really. I think we'll be thinking twice if we're going to sign a contract with a new record label.
On the way to Brighton now, meeting up with Aaron, manager of independent record label Mid-March. He's had a few releases as far as I know, he's done quite well, put on gigs, you name it, that kind of area. Probably only about 8 miles to go, weather's looking horrible. Gonna head to town a bit later to watch a couple of bands at Comedia, hosted by So Done So, a bloke called Tom Lee, putting on a gig for the first time. We've done a few things before, but this is the first time in Brighton he's held his own small venue with quite small bands trying to get themselves known. A couple of them are signed by independent labels, obviously trying to reach up, earn a bit of money, get there, sort out a career for themselves. I'm gonna hit that tonight, see what that's like. Try and sort out an interview with Tom. Never know what it's gonna be like. Should be a good night. So how long have you been involved in music?
Over 10 years, in one form or another.
Do you go to a lot of live shows, obviously, and seeing bands that you've signed, or?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 times a week, I guess. I try and go to local things that local promoters put on.
First show you ever went to?
I think the first big show I ever went to was a band called Soulfly in London, only because it was the guy who used to do Sepultura, and I was really into metal. But the first hardcore show I went to in Brighton was at the Albert. It was upstairs, and I remember turning up and there being like 5 people there. I was really intimidated by all these massive guys and thinking, you know, what am I doing here, like 16 years old? But it was really amazing, and from then on I was like hooked on the whole hardcore scene and just really went to small shows rather than bigger shows.
So as a small label, what's sort of the biggest challenges you've come across and how have you overcome them?
The biggest challenge is getting someone to take you seriously in the first place, in terms of press and in terms of distribution. Most distributors in the UK won't touch you unless you've done 10 releases.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't do 10 releases without getting distribution. Yeah. So I started off with a pretty small set of releases, just trading with labels in Europe and England, not making any money back on them really, and just trying to sell as many records at shows as I can, taking distros out and stuff like that.
What's next for your label?
I've just done a release by one of my favourite bands in the entire world, so yeah. I guess after this I can't really do much, but I'd like to work with some more bands next year. I'm going to do a split record for my own band, and then hopefully do that with a European label.
What advice or what would you tell someone that's starting up their own independent label?
I'd tell them to be prepared to spend a lot of time and money and have the financial backing there to start with, because if you don't go in with enough to see it through, you'll just end up losing it all straight away. Yeah. I'd say you need at least £1,000, if not a couple of £1,000, to put out a record decently with advertising and the time issue. At the beginning it takes so long because you don't know what you're doing. With all the advice in the world, you don't know what you're getting yourself in for, and you don't know the procedures in terms of there's a lot of paperwork to fill out and there's a lot of people you have to contact just to get the record pressed and then to get it out there.